The East Side Detroit neighborhood known as Regent Park is welcoming a new educational opportunity for families of young children. The community has its first Head Start center for children from birth to age 5. The center is located in the former Tracy McGregor Elementary School and brings much needed early childhood education services to an area that is still heavily populated with children. Joining me now are two of the partners in the project. Roxanne Campbell is Executive Director of United Children and Family Head Start, which operates the center, and Larry Johnson is co-founder of Life Builders, a nonprofit that works to revitalize the Regent Park neighborhood. Thanks to you both for being here.
Thank you, Stephen.
Yeah, Roxanne, I want to start with you. Tell me about Regent Park. This is a part of the city that I don't know that well, and I'm imagining there are some viewers who are not sure where that is either.
Okay, so this is on the Detroit East Side, in zip code 48205.
Mm-hmm. So the cross streets, Gratiot and maybe what?
It's in the 8 Mile Kelly Road area,
Yeah.
Stephen, and it was formerly heavily populated with police, fire, and teachers.
Copper Canyon.
That's exactly right. Right.
Yeah.
It was a very prestigious place to live. Actually, a lot of people referred to it as the Grosse Pointe of Detroit. We've even talked to residents recently that recently moved that said we remember it in those days. It was quite a place.
Yeah, and so the idea of this center is to give people who are still living there early education opportunities.
Yes, so we will be providing services to children who are ages birth to 5 for income eligible families who live in that community. So Head Start and early Head Start services.
Yeah, Head Start is something that I think people are familiar with as a phrase. I'm not sure everyone knows exactly what Head Start does or how important it is to kids before they get to school.
Well, Head Start is a comprehensive program, so we're focusing in on cognitive skills for the children, but we're also focusing in on health and nutrition, disability services, mental health services, and we're working with the families. We recognize the parent as the child's first teacher, and so we know how important it is that we work with the family, that we engage the families in order for us to have positive outcomes for the children.
Yeah, that's one of the things I really like about Head Start is that it is not just about a child inside of a family. It's about that family and trying to get the supports that you need to get that child ready for kindergarten.
Yes, kindergarten readiness.
Yeah. Talk to me about what's going on in this neighborhood, this part of the city.
You know, we were particularly excited when Roxanne came and took that first tour the day that she came out with a social impact funder, IFF, who was bringing resources from Kresge and other places, looking for a place that was on the rise in Detroit to locate one of their first early childhood education centers under this new initiative here in the state of Michigan. So when they came out, we'd been in the community for 13 years. When we first moved in, Regent Park, or that 48205 zip code, Stephen, was known as Detroit's most dangerous zip code.
Yeah, the most murders in the city each year take place in 48205.
You know, and I think perhaps the impact of this new center was probably, I was reminded of its impact just a couple days ago when some people came to take a tour of our community, because lots of people like to see like what's happened, in Regent Park that now there's getting so much recognition. Well, we were sitting in the parking lot with all the cars that were parked there. The lights were on at the Early Childhood Education Center, the playfield that we repurposed with a grant from Kresge. And I was sitting there with these folks. I was so overwhelmed with thankfulness to think that 13 years ago, the grass was 2 feet high, was selling drugs all over. There was an abandoned school there that had just sat there, which was, it reminded everybody of what used to be there, and then it turned into all these negative things. And now you look at this, and it's the epicenter of the community. It's the talk of Regent Park. It's hope. It's life.
Yeah. What are you encountering with the folks there in Regent Park in terms of their enthusiasm about this Head Start program?
The families are very enthused because they have the opportunity to be able to provide services and bring their kids, both the infants and toddlers and the preschoolers, to one location. And so that's very important that they have that continuity and that continuum of care. That can be very challenging for a family when they have to take a infant and toddler to one location, then have to take the preschooler to another
somewhere
location,
else, right.
someplace else. Yeah, and then you got to pick them both up. And so the families are very excited, and they're very pleased that we have opened up the Regent Park facility.
Yeah. These other improvements around the school, is that something you feel like you can build on and sort of keep spreading around in that area?
Really do. When we first started, we started working from Kelly Road West in the community. And our vision long term was this whole block, which was the park and the abandoned school. So now with this developed, it has become the epicenter of the community. It's the talk of the community. So now as we continue to rehab homes and bring life to those abandoned properties, et cetera, we're up to 50, by the way, now.
50 homes.
Stephen, 2 apartment buildings, 50 homes, active youth programs, which complement very much what Roxanne brings to our community. She's 0 to 4. We are K up through 12. So it's great collaborative effort to serve families in our community.
Yeah, yeah. When we talk about the city and the things that are going on in the city, and we talk about neighborhoods, I think a lot of times areas like this get skipped over because it's not, it's not central. It's not a place that everybody is familiar with. But it does sound like there are some things going on there that we might learn to apply in some other places. This idea, first, of creating quality educational options for people. As someone who's raising his kids in the city, I know that's just not something we have in most places. And that is a start for other things, I think, is one of the things that's really important about what you guys are doing. Once you have that, it becomes easier to talk about, well, should we get how do we get families to live here? Well, we've got this great center, Head Start Center. That's a big incentive.
Well, we are so grateful for that very reason, because it has really put the whole community on the map. It's like we're telling the families in the community, you matter. This community is going to make it. Things are happening here.
Yeah, yeah. Are there other communities in Detroit where you are looking at maybe doing the same thing?
Yes, but it is just a little slight challenge in terms of trying to find facilities and trying to find community partners that you can work with. And so we were very excited with the opportunity that we had to work with Life Builders to open up this center, and then some of the other options that they have in terms of a community center, which will provide resources for our families. And so we try to have locations where there's a community that's on the rise, and that the families have opportunities to sort of like, do some one-stop shopping in that neighborhood.
Yeah, yeah. You said you've done 50 homes in that neighborhood. Talk about the impact of that on the community. The idea that you've got 50 homes redone and I imagine sold to families. That changes the whole outlook, I would imagine.
It really does. When we first came, there was this encroaching blight that had just spread, and with the red blood gang operating in the community, et cetera, there was a lot of despair and hopelessness. So as we took these homes on, every 3 months or so, you'd get a comment from the community that, wow, what's happening here, and then they would say, well, Life Builders is doing 2 more here, and they're doing 2 more here, where blinds used to be closed and people never used to take a walk, and they'd stay in their homes. Now they can take a walk, they can be outside. The kids can play in the park. You can plan events in the park now. It's a very exciting time, but I will tell you, Stephen, and Roxanne knows this as well, it has been really hard work.
Yeah, yeah. That's the thing that I think also we don't acknowledge enough, is that this is the hardest work, I think, in the city, is taking neighborhoods that have been disinvested in and left to sort of deteriorate and turn them around. And it does take human investment. It's not just investment in houses or schools or things like that. It is creating opportunity for the people who live there, which is exactly what you're trying to do. Is the work that you're doing in that community something that you can see sort of moving over to some other places? There's lots of places that need it.
Oh, Stephen, that's a question we've been asked.
I would imagine
many
people are
times.
maybe eager to get you out other places, right?
The first time we were asked this about 5 years ago, we were at a conference somewhere, and this doctor and his wife raised their hand and said, "Why don't you do this somewhere else?" And I said, "Are you crazy?"
I've got my hands
We've
full.
got
Right?
our hands full right now. But I mean, if we can serve the city of Detroit and other neighborhoods in some way with whatever we're doing, maybe this collaboration with the two of us, we can take it to other communities
Other
going
places.
forward with this model. How exciting would that be?
Yeah, that would be really great. Yeah. Well, congratulations on the work, and thanks very much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank
Stephen.
you.